Good afternoon everyone, welcome back to your beloved Drawback chess speedrun, the series in which I always reveal my drawback but still always get that 100% win rate because I'm such a god at the game. And without any further ado, let's get into today's content. Today we are climbing from 2800 to 2900 rating points. Helicopter parent, you lose if you have an undefended pawn. One of those instant loss drawbacks, and even though I usually skip those games with instant losses, this one actually seems very controllable. Reveal drawback to opponent. b3, b5, g3. The plan is very simple. I'll keep the pawn close to me, so I can easily put them under protection. Very straightforward. Knight c6. Since we are having a very slow game, I'll skip you through the opening phase. h5. Castle. My king should be able to defend these two pawns, so my other pieces can have a decent amount of freedoms. h4. Capturing that pawn loses the game, d3 instead. h takes g3. Knight takes g3. It's okay for the pawn to die though, Hades is gonna defend them in hell. Knight h5. I'll take it. Rook takes. Aha. This guy knows my queen cannot take his rook because she is currently the only piece defending my c-pawn. Queen takes h5 immediately loses the game to my own drawback. Bishop back to g2 instead. None of the center pieces and pawns has even moved yet. I'm sure it has something to do with his drawback. But there shouldn't be a drawback that restricts 20 points of materials like this. I still need some more information. Bishop b7. Take knight d2. Opening up the way for rook c1 defending the c-pawn, so I can get my queen out and take his rook. He ran away. Okay, but I can't just go rook c1 yet as that drops my a-pawn. a3 first. Now my bishop has to stay here and defend the pawn, but of course we can always release the bishop by pushing the a-pawn again. Rook g8. Lining his rook up with my king. Very obviously going to push his g-pawn next, but I suppose we don't have to worry about that yet. Rook c1. Rook back to h8. What is happening? Knight e4. I have no idea, but if he doesn't want to use his center pawns and pieces, I'll try to completely take over the center. Rook h4. Aha. Now if he takes my knight, I cannot recapture because my pawn on e4 won't be having any pieces defending it. Very sneaky. Queen to f3. d5. Knight g5. My drawback is an instant loss 1, but absolutely very manageable. And in fact, in circumstances that I cannot manage to defend the pawns anymore, I'll just let my opponent capture them so I'll have fewer things to worry about. Resignation. Opponent's drawback is a wall of text. Please feel free to pause the video to read, I won't waste your time with it. Second game, let's go. Second game was played at 2860. Stop stalling, your pieces can't move laterally. Barely an inconvenience, reveal drawback to opponent. e4. So basically my rooks are useless, my queen got nerfed by 25% power, besides those things, everything stays the same. e5. Bishop c4 knight f6 d3 c6 knight c3 d5 e d5 c d5 bishop b5 bishop d7 bishop g5 bishop b4. Okay, as you can see I messed up my opening phase, my opening theory foundation sucks, this guy completely destroyed me. Bishop takes d7. I mean I don't think we are losing any immediate materials, but positional wise, his pieces are way better placed, and thus significantly better than mine. Including the king. Okay, so maybe his challenge is something like you can't move your queen. But on the other hand, if that was the case, then he would have just recaptured with his knight on f6, sacrificing his useless queen for my bishop. Therefore, as that wasn't the case, I won't be playing based on that assumption for now. a3. Bishop back. b4. Bishop back. Knight takes d5. He still doesn't want to sacrifice his queen. I'll take with bishop. I mean, maybe the challenge has some sort of other requirements, as if you lose your queen you lose the game, but then his drawback would become way too difficult, even more difficult than mine, which doesn't make any sense because my elo is already absurdly high. He took with the g-pawn. I don't want to take that pawn. I'm not a coward, but I don't want to risk anything based on such an unreliable assumption. Queen g4 check instead. And he moved his king forward. Okay, so maybe his drawback is something like if your king gets checked, you have to move him forward. Which is absurdly difficult, as after 7 checks he doesn't have anywhere forward to go and he'll lose the game to his own drawback. Therefore still not enough information. I'll defend my knight for now. Your opponent's drawback was escort mission. If your king can capture, it must. Wait, but if that was the case, why did he go king c6? Probably a mouse slip. Third game, let's go. We already won 2 games, so third game we can be a bit more relaxed. Inching forward, after move 6, your king must be in front of your home rank. Every 6 moves after the rank it must be in moves forward by 1. Very testosterone. Reveal drawback to opponent. e4. Mouse slipped. e6. I was preparing for e4 king e2 a proper bomb cloud, but since I mouse slipped the pawn, bishop c4 instead. I mean, now d5 attacks the bishop and I'll have to spend another move to retreat it, but since we have a whopping 6 moves before having to push the king, there is nothing to be worried about. Knight f6. Alright. Here we go. King to e2. Come at me, baby. Knight c6. b3. Knight e5. Bishop e2. This guy is really hesitating about pushing his pawns. Maybe it has something to do with his challenge. Maybe I should consider just capturing a random pawn to see what happens. Take bishop d6. d4. Take over the center so my king can advance. c6. Queen d3. Preparing for e4 king e3. Queen b6. Very aggressive. Bishop a3. He trades. Knight takes a3. 2 pairs of minor pieces are gone, and he still doesn't want to push any pawns. I seriously need to sacrifice a knight for 1 or 2 of his pawns. Queen b2. Knight h3. Queen back to b6. Must advance king. King f3 is physically forced. Castle. g4. Knight takes g4. Aha. He is literally asking me whether I have the testosterone to take his knight with my king. And of course, I'm not a coward. I'm not even gonna retreat my king. He's gonna be constantly on the 4th rank from now on. d5. Knight g5. Discovered check. King h4. e4. I'll sacrifice my knight for 2 pawns. He took a pawn instead. That blunders a king. Queen takes h7. Checkmate in 1. Opponent's challenge was pawn battle. Lose if you have fewer pawns than your opponent. So that's why he didn't push any pawns. Everything makes sense now. Drawback speed run today, 300% win rate.